Well, leave it to the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who lived next to Jeffrey Epstein for 20 years, to drag Donald Trump kicking and screaming back into the scandal. And it all blew up in Pam Bondi's face while she was receiving softball questions from a MAGA senator named Kennedy about statements that Howard Lutnick made on a podcast run by the New York Post, owned by Rupert Murdoch, in which, and I'm going to play it for you, in which Lutnick, totally counter to the fake news story that the Department of Justice and Donald Trump's been running, said that he knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a consummate blackmailer. He was one of the greatest blackmailers of all time, that he probably used video of him and girls, the child sex trafficking ring, in 2008 in order to get out from under a federal investigation. That's completely counter to Kash Patel's testimony to the Senate, in which he said nobody else was involved besides Jeffrey Epstein, and there was no blackmail involved. Not according to Howard Lutnick. He believes even Bill Gates of Microsoft was involved with inappropriate massages and the child sex trafficking ring, and he said so. And particularly, Lutnick said after living next door to him, Epstein, and buying the house from Epstein, he went with his own wife, Allison, to go visit Epstein, saw a massage table in the middle, saw some creepy comments by Epstein, and said he would never go there. Did you see the young girls going in and out? Did you think to pick up the phone and make a report and have somebody investigate Epstein, what was going on next door? Or did you turn a blind eye, which is what it looks like? I'm Michael Popok. You're here on the MeidasTouch Network. Let's talk about how we're back, because we're never going to leave the Epstein scandal, because Donald Trump's never going to tell the truth to the American people. So it started with Kennedy asking Pam Bondi, which should have been a series of softball questions, about the podcast that Lutnick gave about Epstein and the comments about him being a blackmailer, and should he be investigated by the FBI and give a statement? Let's play the clip.
Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam. But have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
She was obviously not prepared to answer that question truthfully or to answer that question at all. Now, if you remember, let me show you now, Howard Lutnick on a New York Post podcast. Why is he going on this podcast? But it's great. It's the gift that keeps on giving, because he said a lot of stupid crap, including about what he knew or should have known about the bad things going on next door. It's like living next to a serial killer and seeing young hitchhikers going in and out of the building for 20 years and not saying anything about it. Let's play the clip of Howard Lutnick saying that Epstein is the greatest blackmailer of all time. That's how he made his money, and throwing other people, including Donald Trump, inadvertently under the bus. Let's play the clip.
Jeffrey Epstein was your neighbor. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about him. East 71st Street. He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay. That's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, or something like that.
Right. Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. You know, we walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall,
Right.
right? So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, do you want a tour? We said, great. He's
Interesting.
got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle
Ooh.
of the room
Ooh.
and candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he like gets like weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Oh.
And so I look back at it as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift
Yes.
of avoid. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
So
that's
he
my
was-
story. A one and absolutely done.
Right. So, I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross.
Right.
Right with my wife. And like, he's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
No, they participated.
right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money. So
what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when,
Mm-hmm.
they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender.
Mm.
How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade.
Mm.
So my assumption, I have no knowledge,
Mm.
but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Now, all of this is completely counter to what Kash Patel told the Senate, because a lot of eyebrows went up, but Kash Patel took the position that no one else except for Jeffrey Epstein, he even left out Ghislaine Maxwell, who got convicted of 5 felony counts related to child sex trafficking and is serving out a 20-year sentence subject to Donald Trump's pardon. He told the Senate nobody else was involved, that they're not investigating anybody else. Let's play that clip.
It'd be fair to say that Mr. Epstein trafficked young women, including, in some instances, minors, for sex to himself. Who else did he traffic these young women to?
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday.
You see how they can't keep straight the story because it's not true? It's hard to keep track of a lie, isn't it? But Howard Lutnick, who was born with a silver foot in his mouth, wasn't really. That's just a great line from Ann Richards about George Bush. He just says anything. He's all comfortable on the podcast. And I got questions for the Commerce Secretary as he just walked himself into the Epstein scandal. We've always known, and we've reported on MeidasTouch, that he bought the townhouse, the Lutnick townhouse, from Epstein, from a LLC owned by Les Wexner, who was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein as well, who ran The Limited and ran Victoria's Secrets. They owned that property together. They sold it to the Lutnick family. Lutnick lived next door to Epstein at the townhouse where women were abused, where Michael Wolff, the journalist, saw photos of half-naked women and with Donald Trump in that townhouse. And yet, for 15 years or whatever it was, all that time, Lutnick never said anything. You just heard him say he felt the guy was a creep and he never went back. He never saw the young girls going in and out of the next door neighbor, the townhouse, coming out the front door, leaving out the front door. Never saw it. Never thought to call local law enforcement, child services, anybody. No. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. And then scoff at accusations that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump have any kind of relationship, financial or otherwise. And then, I don't know where Lutnick's getting his info from, but we know about the 2008 non-prosecution agreement. It was negotiated by Alan Dershowitz on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami. And Alex Acosta was the then U.S. Attorney in Miami, later promoted, given the labor secretary position by Donald Trump. I don't know, maybe as a reward for helping Epstein out. He certainly didn't stop his career path. I mean, after the allegations all came out, Alex Acosta had to step down, but Donald Trump had no problem making him his labor secretary. And so that deal gets signed, in which Jeffrey Epstein goes to jail for a very short amount of time. He's still able to run his child sex trafficking ring because Ghislaine Maxwell's still out. And he cops a plea to soliciting prostitution from a minor, which makes it sound like the victim is actually the leader of the gang. The minor prostitute, he was raping girls. And now Lutnick reveals this bombshell, who knows where he got it from, that it must have been Epstein trading videos to the prosecutors to get that deal. I don't even know how that works. So the prosecutors got the videos and they did nothing about it? Then it's even worse. Then they left young girls vulnerable as prey to Epstein and gave him a sweetheart deal. This is the same non-prosecution agreement that was the death knell or at the basis of the appeal that was just denied by the Supreme Court for Ghislaine Maxwell, because she tried to take credit for it and try to participate in it, say she was a third-party beneficiary of that same agreement. And the Supreme Court said, no, you weren't. Yeah, your prosecution was fine. Your conviction was fine. And that all recently happened. But this whole blackmail thing, and Howard Lutnick saying out loud, I think Bill Gates was involved. It's just eye-popping. Yeah, maybe Kash Patel should do his job and go investigate anybody that's in the Epstein files instead of spending so much time with redaction tape and whiteout and Sharpie pens removing Donald Trump's name. How about that? maybe Howard Lutnick should be immediately brought under oath and brought into the FBI and give a sworn statement and not just ramble away mindlessly on a podcast. How about that? And we're going to see the next time Pam Bondi's brought before this Senate Judiciary Committee, she's going to have to talk about the things, she got out of there like, I got out scot-free. I was fighting away. I was taking my jabs with the senators. You got a job to do, and you're doing it in the most corrupt way possible, Pam. And when you come back, there's going to be a lot of hard questions about the Epstein scandal, now refreshed by Donald Trump. I'm glad you're here on the MeidasTouch Network. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Do the exact same thing. And we've got a Substack called Legal AF Substack with live reports every day. Take a moment and consider becoming a paid member of Legal AF Substack as well. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.